Okay, so I'm going to be pretty honest. I think iOS 18 kind of sucks. I mean, so many of the new features aren't really features. Like, they aren't things that will enhance your productivity. Like customizing the control center or tinting your icons or having them in dark mode. That's fine. Being able to position apps anywhere you want in the home screen, those things are cool. I'm not complaining that we finally got them. But the thing is that these features, as well as many others introduced with iOS 18, like more text effects on messages and stuff like that, they don't actually help you get stuff done or improve the quality of your life in a significant way, at least in my opinion. So I was pretty let down. Honestly, I was hoping that after Apple released the developer beta, people would start noticing many changes that weren't mentioned during the keynote, but were actually pretty awesome. And that has happened in most iOS releases in the past, but this time was different. This time, what they showed us in WWDC was pretty much what we got, with a few tweaks here and there. Honestly, I think Math Notes is the most useful, like actually useful feature in iOS 18. But there's definitely room for improvement, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the top 3 features that I think are missing from iOS 18 that would actually be super useful and improve the lives of iPhone and iPad users. So without further ado, let's begin. My number 1 feature that's missing from iOS 18 is bilingual Siri. Like, the cool thing is that we finally got bilingual keyboards in iOS 18, so you can type in like Spanish and Portuguese at the same time, or English and Spanish without having to switch keyboards. But Siri could actually benefit much more from something like this. I do understand that for people in the US, it might not seem like such a big deal, but for everyone else, it could actually improve our lives so much. For example, I live in Brazil, so Siri is set to Portuguese, so that when I want to send a message, for example, it's going to understand what I'm saying and it's going to send that to the recipient who also speaks Portuguese. But it sucks when I want to listen to a song that's in English, because the song's name is in English, and if it's something a little complicated, Siri won't catch it because he only speaks one language at a time. So if I'm giving it the command in Portuguese, but I say the name of the song in English, it won't understand. And that really sucks. I just want to choose the music that I want to listen to quickly. Or if I happen to be messaging someone in English, I would love to be able to reply using Siri, or have Siri read the message out loud to me in English. Because what it does now is that since it's set to Portuguese, if I receive a message in English and it tries to read it aloud, it's going to read it thinking that it's in Portuguese. So everything sounds very wrong. In most cases, you can't really understand it. So this feature matters a lot to me, and I don't know what's taking Apple so long. I mean, Siri is 13 years old, it was released in 2011, and Google Assistant, which was released after Siri, has had this feature for years now. I remember having a Galaxy S10 and I could say the command, "Oh, listen to this song" in Portuguese, and then say the name of the song in English, and it would get it every time. And that was a while ago. Yet Apple hasn't been able to implement this with Siri. I mean, come on! Apple's a company that spends $20 billion a year in research and development, and they can't figure this out? It shouldn't be too hard. But then again, I think they just don't care very much. I feel like Apple focuses too much on US users, and I do understand they're a big market, but like most Apple users are outside of the US, just because we have a bunch of people in other places of the world. So I think they're lacking this regional sensitivity. Now, for number 2, this might also be something that's not as relevant for people in the US, but definitely super relevant for people in many other countries, and that is requiring your password to shut the phone down. Hear me out. This doesn't have to be like a mandatory thing. Like, they should offer the option for you to turn this on or off. I mean, Apple has invested so much in activation lock and stolen device protection, but they haven't invested in the most basic thing ever, which is that if someone steals your iPhone, they can just turn it off, and then you can't ping it with your Apple Watch. You can, in theory, still find it using Find My, but in my experience, I haven't been successful. And I've been robbed twice. And neither one of those times I could do anything about it. And like the first time, I knew there was no getting the phone back. Like, two guys came in a motorcycle and they threatened me and took my iPhone, and okay, they're gone. But the second time, I was at a party. I was robbed inside of the party. So the person who robbed me stayed there for many, many hours. And I tried to ping my iPhone. I rang it using my Apple Watch, and it did ring the first time apparently, although I didn't hear it. But when I tried to do it the second time, I just got the message, can't connect to your iPhone, because the person had shut the device off. And I wasn't able to use precise location tracking to see if I could get it back, because in that scenario, if this person had not been able to turn my iPhone off, I would still be able to ping it and I would still be able to locate it using another iPhone. So I think it's really disappointing that Apple hasn't implemented a feature like this yet. But maybe they don't actually want you to get your iPhone back, because if you don't get it back, then you're going to have to buy a new one. And then they make more money off you. So maybe it's not in their interest. But I hope I'm wrong and that maybe they introduce this feature sooner rather than later. A man can dream. And now moving on to my third missing feature from iOS 18 and iPadOS 18 is exporting video in the background. This is really important, and it's kind of unacceptable that in 2024, if you're editing a video in iMovie or Final Cut Pro on the iPad or any other video editing app for that matter, as soon as you go to your home screen, it cancels the export. You can't do anything else. The app has to be in the foreground. And this is really dumb. This is so unproductive. And this is a type of thing that people are talking about when they say that the iPad has too much power hardware-wise, but the software limits it. This is a perfect example, you know? How can you be a pro video editor who can't export video in the background? You have to sit there and stare at the screen while it's exporting video. And those exports can take quite a bit of time, even though the iPad has the M4 processor, which is super fast, and it has a bunch of RAM, etc. If you're dealing with lots of 4K, 8K footage, it can take a few minutes. And you could have put those minutes to good use if you were simply able to execute this task in the background. But you're not, and I think that sucks. And yeah, these are basically my top 3 missing features from iOS 18. But I want to add as a bonus point a bug fix that has never happened and that I really hoped would happen. Apple introduced third-party keyboard support a while ago. I think it was in like iOS 7, which is 7 years. No, how many years? Sorry. Oh my God, it's been a while. Okay, we're in iOS 18 minus 7, 11 years ago. Is that correct? Anyhow, Apple introduced third-party keyboard support with iOS 7, if I'm not mistaken. And ever since then, there's been this really annoying bug where the third-party keyboard will crash and then the regular keyboard shows up. This happens a lot in Spotlight, but also everywhere else. And this is not a feature. It's not like when you're typing out a password that it automatically switches keyboards just to make sure that the keyboard isn't like logging your key presses. This happens like in WhatsApp, it happens in mail. You don't really know when it's going to happen, but it's super, super, super annoying. And I'm pretty sure it's not the keyboard's fault, because this happens with all of the third-party keyboards that I have used so far. So that's SwiftKey, Gboard, TouchPal, and many, many, many more. So If you're watching this, Apple, please fix this. I'm begging you. It's been way too many years for me to be able to calculate in my head. I mean, I can do it, but I'm lazy and I don't want to. So, yeah, that's my rant for today, basically. If you agree that these features are really important, yet they're missing from iOS, or if you can think of any other features that you really think should be there already, but they're not, please comment down below. Also, hit that like button and the subscribe button. That helps me out a lot. And well, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!